What's going on, guys? My name's Nath. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving a quick little overview, very basic, of the Outlaw rotation. I've had a couple people ask on my previous videos saying, hey, can you elaborate on the Outlaw rotation? I've had a bunch of people in my stream pop in and say stuff like, hey man, what's going on with Outlaw? It feels really weird. What are these buffs? What do they do? You know, when do I reroll? Why do I have to reroll? It feels awkward. I totally get it. So wanted to spend a few minutes today just kind of hitting a dummy and explaining a few things. I know for me personally, it's much easier to learn when I watch somebody do it on a video or watch them in person rather than kind of just reading about it in a guide or on a forum or whatever. So I'm just gonna hop right into it, guys, and like I said, we're gonna keep this pretty basic and pretty fast for you today. So just like all the other rogue specs, Outlaw works with combo point builders and combo point spenders. So as far as your builders are concerned, you only have two of them. You have Sinister Strike and you have Pistol Shot. That's it. Now the only time you want to prioritize Pistol Shot as Outlaw is either if you have a Pistol Shot proc or if you're simply out of range. You know, I can't hit the guy with a sword, I need to shoot him with a gun. Totally understandable. So moving on to spenders, then you have three. You have Dispatch, you have Between the Eyes, and you have Roll the Bones. Now, as a general rule of thumb for finisher guys, you always want to use finishers at around 4 or 5 combo points. If you play the deeper stratagem talent, then that rule gets upgraded to 5 or 6. The only time I can really say that it's okay to use on less combo points a finisher is maybe if like the boss is about to die and you'd simply do more damage by hitting it with a finisher than you would a builder. Totally understand that, don't worry about it. Now, I want to get into right away Roll the Bones, because if you're not familiar with Roll the Bones, it's kind of the catalyst of Outlaw Rogue, and I think it's where almost like all of the confusion of this spec comes into play. So if you're not familiar with how it works, once you activate this finisher, you get assigned either 1, 2, or 5 of the out of 6 buffs. Each of them just kind of give you like a different combat enhancement or stat increase. So general rule of thumb, if you ever roll more than 1 buff, keep it always. There's never a point where if you roll 2 or 5 buffs that you want to be looking to re-roll. You always keep that. So very basic. If I see debuffs come up, okay, I'm good, not re-rolling. If I see 5 buffs come on, thank God, because not only am I not going to re-roll, but I'm going to be doing a shitload of damage. So really good to think about. Now, when you roll 1 buff is where it gets kind of more complicated, and that is the more likely aspect of this, or the more likely possibility is that you will only get that 1 buff. So if you have Deadshot or Ace Up Your Sleeve Azurite traits, guys, then the only buff that you want to be keeping is Ruthless Precision, which is the shark fin. It's the crit buff. I'll put the icon here. If you're not running Deadshot Azurite traits, first of all, run Deadshot Azurite traits. Go get some of that gear, because it just takes your damage way up, and it kind of makes the playstyle a lot more fluid and a lot more fun personally. So if you're not running those traits, guys, then you can keep the Ruthless Precision, which is the shark fin buff, and also Grand Melee, which is the, I believe it's a haste buff, and it's kind of like a crossing swords icon. I'll put it right here. So likewise, if you do have those Deadshot or Ace Up Your Sleeve Azurite traits, that also influences the priority of Between the Eyes. So Between the Eyes, if you have Deadshot traits, it buffs your next pistol shot. I'm running 3 of them, and it's like a 10,500 DPS buff to the next time you use pistol shot. So it's really good. So the way this changes the priority is if I previously rolled a bad buff and would be looking to then re-roll to a better buff, instead of re-rolling, actually using Between the Eyes off cooldown takes priority. And I know that's a lot to kind of think about, and it'll make more sense when I actually get into it at the dummy. And then the final finisher, Dispatch, here is kind of your last priority, or the last thing you should be thinking about. So the only time I use Dispatch is if I have a good buff. Between the Eyes is on cooldown, so I can't use it, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that Dispatch button. So let's just jump right into some basic you know, uses of this stuff and see what I'm talking about here. So you can follow the abilities up top. So I've reached 5 combo points now, so I'm gonna go ahead, Roll the Bones. Amazing, I got 5 buffs, guys. Best case scenario. So here I'm just gonna be pumping damage. I'm gonna be using my spenders. I'm gonna be using my pistol shot procs whenever I get them. And then I'm going to use Between the Eyes, like I said, off cooldown. This is actually like the best case scenario, guys. And my DPS would actually just be disgusting here if I had popped Adrenaline Rush, which I'll briefly talk about at the end of the video, but wanted to keep out of this just for simplicity's sake. So here, all I'm doing is, you know, using my builders and using Dispatch and Between the Eyes off cooldown as a spender, because I have 5 buffs and I should be, you know, thanking whatever god you believe in, or the WoW devs for gracing you with that role. And then I'm going to be re-rolling as soon as those buffs expire. So here is a perfect example. Buried Treasure, it's not the crit buff, Ruthless Precision, that I want. So I need to be thinking right now, oh, I need to re-roll this as soon as possible. But Between the Eyes is up, so that's actually going to take priority over re-rolling. I did lose that pistol shot proc there because I'm going slow, but no worries. So here, Between the Eyes is off cooldown, so I'm going to go ahead and re-roll. Here I got the same buff again, really bad, and so I'm going to be thinking I need to re-roll. Here I got 2 buffs, so that's good. So I'm going to be proceeding with the normal Between the Eyes dispatch priority per usual, and not really too worried about it. Now guys, I know it can be frustrating as Outlaw to roll a bunch of single buffs over and over again, and it feels kind of bad, but believe me, it is always better to re-roll bad buffs than to continue using finishers with suboptimal buff, essentially. So always re-roll. I know it can feel kind of bad if you're literally like 10 re-rolls in, you still don't have what you want, but that's just kind of the name of the game. Now, a quick sub note, if I ever get to a point where I have 4 combo points and a pistol shot proc up, I actually want to go ahead and use a spender rather than using the pistol shot proc, because I want to avoid over capping that energy or those combo points, obviously. So I'm going to walk through it one more time here for you guys. I had my buffs expiring, so I need to re-roll, so that takes first priority if I have no buffs. Now I've got 2 buffs, so I'm not thinking about re-rolling at all. I see Between the Eyes is off cooldown, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Now I'm just working through dispatch. I've checked good buff off the list, I've checked Between the Eyes off the list. Now all that's left is that dispatch. So here I'm just thinking about, okay, I'm seeing Between the Eyes off cooldown, coming off cooldown, there it is, boom. Using dispatch, using pistol shot proc as soon as it's up, and that's kind of it, guys. That's Outlaw in a nutshell. It's just these 5 core abilities are really gonna make or break it for you guys, and that's really all I would consider worrying about when you're first learning Outlaw, is just understanding the 5 basics. Understanding Sinister Strike, pistol shot, dispatch, Between the Eyes, and roll the bones. Obviously roll the bones is where you're going to need to do a little research, understand what you can keep, what you don't, and that's all. The only thing that's going to matter there is the Azurite pieces you're playing. If you have Deadshot, only keep the shark fin buff. If you don't have Deadshot or Ace Up Your Sleeve, then you can keep Grand Melee. If you see 2 or 5 buffs, always keep it. And if you also have Deadshot, then keep Between the Eyes off cooldown and have that at a higher priority than your re-rolling. And that's really about it, guys. The only 2 other things that's really going on with the DPS that I'm going to touch on very, very briefly here is Killing Spree or Blade Rush. The best time to use these is when off cooldown, but also when you're at low energy. So it gets kind of tricky. There's not like a set rule for when to use these. I usually use Killing Spree either when I'm looking for big burst or when I have low energy, because you go into this kind of like teleportation ninja channel, and that allows your energy to regen. So it feels pretty good when you come out of that hard hitting ability to have full energy to go into your normal rotation again. And then Adrenaline Rush, guys, essentially pop this off cooldown. There's no reason why you should ever be holding this, save maybe waiting for a raid hero ability or waiting to use it in conjunction with your second pot. Best case scenario, you would be heroing and using your second pot and popping this at the same time. But before then, just pop it off cooldown, guys. A lot of people kind of forget about Outlaw's Restless Blades passive, where if you use your finishers at certain combo points, they actually reduce the cooldown of Adrenaline Rush and Between the Eyes. Really good. So you kind of lose out a lot of potential usage of it if you are trying to save it for once every like 3 minutes, because you'll actually end up being able to get it off more often than that. So that's kind of it, guys. Really, like I said earlier, focus on those 5 key abilities we talked about. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments below. I'll answer right away. You can also check me out on stream. I'll leave that in the description as well. And then if you ever have any general Outlaw questions, I encourage you guys to check out the Wowhead guides, the Icy Vein guides, and the class Discord. All of the authors of that content are really good. They keep that stuff really up to date. That's kind of how I learned. And then if you're looking for a more in-depth deep dive into like the finesses of the rotation, specific popping like in the opener and like AoE stuff, check out Dratnos on YouTube and Twitch. He's a great rogue player, super high simming, super well performing, and he makes some great stuff. So check him out. I'll leave his stuff in the description as well. And that's all I got for you guys. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you'd like me to elaborate more. And thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. What's going on, guys? My name is Nath. Welcome back to the His bitch is crossing me. All right, back it up, back it up, back it up. Gotta get the angle. Gotta look cool, guys. Remember that. All right, let's start over.